What's up guys? Welcome back to the channel Hand Waving. Your friend Naruto Addict 2.0 is here again with a brand new Naruto fanfic that's going to change everything. A story where Naruto is betrayed and banished. But destiny has bigger plans for him. From exile to emperor, this is the journey of power, strategy, and love. Today's fanfic is titled, What If Naruto Became the Center of Attraction After Kushina's Comeback? Part 2. The sun was set and it was close to time to go to sleep, but no one felt like sleeping. Heck, Naruto didn't even feel like talking. Or being around the others. Right now he had walked away from the group and was sitting on a long hunched over, doing a pretty good brooding Sasuke impression right there sans the hate. Despite his obvious wish to be alone, Hinata, Sakura, and Ayame were there with him hoping to soothe his bad mood in any way they could. The others were wisely keeping their distance from him, while Moegi just wasn't sure what to say or do here. Sakura and Ayame were just hovering around Naruto, waiting for any sign he wanted to acknowledge them, while Hinata was sitting right next to him leaning on him. He did not object to her contact. Let it out Naruto-kun, don't keep this to yourself. Let me help you. The blonde sighed. I just can't believe this. Why didn't the old man tell me? Why didn't he tell anyone else? Maybe then I wouldn't have been so hated. He paused for a moment, struggling to not cry. How many people knew, and still said nothing? Did nothing. Gigi, Ba-chan, Ero-senin, Kakashi-sensei. Did they know? Why wasn't I told? He shedded a few tears. Ayame looked mad. I find it very unlikely that the Sandaime didn't know. Now I respect the old man even less. Makes me wish I had done more. What do you mean? Sakura asked. Ayame leaned against a tree, her arms crossed. I used to be a chunin, and a damn good one. I was also one of Naruto's guards when he was younger and targeted a lot more often. My teammates and I were diligent, and unlike the other guards who often just warned the idiots, we weren't afraid to use force in response to his harassers. Apparently some dumbasses decided to press charges on us for inconveniencing and endangering them, and we countercharged them for interfering in shinobi business and conspiring to murder a child. Ayame closed her eyes and clenched a fist, the others easily feeling latent rage coming from her. The matter was brought before the council, both sides, and naturally it became a tug of war between the two sides like it always does when Naruto's involved. This particular one got worse than usual, and I remember at least one civilian making threats at the shinobi side for not being obedient. I think he went so far as to claim that the shinobi were supposed to take orders from the civilians, though he probably said it a lot more derogatorily than that, and at least one more civilian supported the claim. Her audience were wide-eyed to hear this, and Ayame opened her eyes. It's been years since then, so I don't remember everything that happened in that hearing. But I never forgot what the results were. The Sandaime settled with the civilians. Settled. The so-called strongest ninja in the village refused to put his foot down and instead compromised with people whose only weapon is pissing and moaning. After that, I was so disgusted I refused to take orders from him again and resigned. Though I refused to stop watching over Naruto even if I wasn't an active kunoichi anymore. What was the settlement? Moegi asked, fearful of what the ramen chef would say. Ayame looked like she was struggling to make herself answer that, or maybe she didn't know the best way to phrase the answer. The civilians threatened a citywide boycott of every sale to every shinobi unless the Sandaime executed Naruto that night once and for all. The shinobi declared that was tantamount to treason and sabotage, and the civilians, to put it politely, told them to tell someone who cared. They even told everyone that they had a contingency plan set in place so that if they were arrested, executed, or removed from power the boycott would automatically happen until Naruto's head was on a pike for all to see. Sakura looked like she wanted to throw up, but Hinata got up and ran for the bushes to actually do the deed. Naruto and Moegi both paled enough to look like they were Orochimaru's kids. Seriously, what stopped them? Sakura asked, almost frightened to hear the answer. Ayame could not give anyone eye contact. The Sandaime would not give them what they wanted, but he wouldn't risk calling their bluff. In the end, now she looked like she wanted to vomit. He agreed to pardon all those that tried to kill Naruto and altered the law regarding him to be punishable by prison time rather than death. Naruto immediately bolted to his feet. He what? The blonde didn't know whether to feel horrified or betrayed. But he told me. He told you what he thought was best for you to hear, Naruto. Ayame sadly interrupted, her expression very empathetic to him. He didn't tell you who your parents were, and he didn't tell you about you know what. Is it really that hard to believe he wouldn't tell you the real law about what happens to those that victimize you? What law? There's a law that applies specifically to boss. Moegi asked as Hinata came back, holding her stomach and wiping her mouth with her sleeve. Naruto and Ayame shared a look. Nei-chan, could you tell them the story? I just can't right now. Naruto asked as he slumped on the ground as if completely defeated. Hinata, Sakura, and Moegi all tried to hug him to make him feel better, but he practically looked suicidal. You sure about that, Naruto? Ayame asked. The whiskered blonde nodded. I just want to get it over with. Please, Nei-chan, you're one of the only people I can trust anymore. Each girl there felt their heart ache for the poor boy, and they all shed a tear for him. Okay, Naruto. Girls, there is a law that centers around Naruto. You see, there is a reason people treat him the way they do. Is it a good reason? Not by a long shot, but that doesn't stop people. And while I'd rather not have to reveal this under the circumstances, but if you're going to be on the lam with Naruto, you probably should know why Konoha wants him dead in the first place. The girls listened with much interest, but none relinquished their hold on him. You should know about the story of the Yondaime and the Kyuubi. Did the academy ever tell you exactly how the Yondaime got rid of the fox? Sakura and Hinata shared a look before looking back at Ayame. The sensei said a very advanced jutsu was used that ended up killing the Yondaime was used. They couldn't say exactly which jutsu it was because no one was familiar with it. Sakura answered. If no one was familiar with it, then how did they know it worked? Ayame asked. Sakura was momentarily speechless. Good point, but regarding Naruto. The Yondaime got rid of the Kyuubi, but it didn't simply cease to exist. He put it somewhere to ensure the creature would never succeed in destroying Konoha. Unfortunately, the only place he could put it was in a seal he placed on Naruto. It was fun while it lasted. Naruto told himself, so completely certain the three girls would try to kill him now he'd bet every ryo he ever spent on ramen on it. He closed his eyes and braced for Sakura's shouts and fists, Hinata's cursing and jukin, and whatever Moegi come think up. Nothing could have surprised him more than hearing them cry. In confusion, he looked at them, seeing their expressions filled with concern, sorrow, and confusion, but not an ounce of hatred or fear. Why aren't you girls shouting and calling me a monster and trying to kill me? Hinata kissed his cheek. Why would I do such a thing to my Naruto-kun? If anything, I should do that to myself for not telling you about me sooner. Boss, you saved my life once and cried over my mom's murder. No monster would do that. Moegi told him. Sakura nodded. Naruto, if you were Kyuubi, there's no way you'd let me hit you all those times. If you were, I'd probably be dead by now. That alone proves to me you're not the fox. Naruto was wide-eyed and frozen, his mind having a hard time processing this. Then suddenly he moved, and quickly broke free of their holds and backed against a tree, looking at them like he was frightened. Naruto-kun. Naruto. Boss. The three girls tried to approach, but he held up his arms defensively and shielded his face, making them stop. Ayame approached and gently pulled Naruto into a comforting hug, which he didn't reject but didn't relax from either. Girls, it's alright. This isn't personal. You just need to know that Naruto is just so used to rejection that he has a hard time handling a situation where he's accepted. You scared him because that's not what he was prepared for. Is Naruto so traumatized that he expects even his friends to want him dead? Sakura asked, feeling her heart ache more for the whiskered blonde. I can't imagine how much this hurts Hinata. Ayame nodded. When Naruto tries to be nice to people, they either ignore him or try to kill him. When he tried to be nice to his classmates, They either gave him the silent treatment or insults. Even when he was put on a team, they were quick to single him out, and when he went to see the Godime, she demeaned him in his dream too. Naruto has basically become conditioned to believe that everyone's first response to him is hatred or indifference, so when you three weren't that when he expected it the most, he didn't know what to think and got scared. How do you know all this? Sakura asked. A quick glance showed Hinata crying a river and Moegi wiping her eyes. Sakura felt her own cheeks and found her own tears were starting to get heavier too. I'm someone Naruto knows he can trust. He tells me quite a lot about what he goes through. He's learned to feel safe and comfortable around me, and you three are going to have to do the same with him. Hold on, what do you mean, you three? Sakura asked. Don't you trust us anymore, Naruto? I don't know what to think anymore. He quietly said, looking at no one. Hinata came up to him and sat down in front of him, holding his face so he couldn't look away. Naruto-kun, I want you to do something right now. I want you to remember your promise to me to beat Neji Onisan. I want you to remember when you saw me in the hospital while I recovered. I want you to remember our talk before you went to the Chunin exam finals. I want you to remember the day you decided to give me chance. She paused for a moment and drew him into a kiss, much like when she found him at the Valley of the End. Now, do you feel like I'm wrong for not hating you? Hinata-chan, Naruto softly said, then got out of Ayame's embrace and hugged the Hyuga heiress tightly, as if afraid she'd disappear if he let go. Ayame smiled at the scene, then quietly got up and came to the other two girls. Here's my advice, you two. Give Naruto time to come to terms with your friendship with him, and do what you can to let him know you don't hate him. It likely won't take that long, but don't expect it to be quick. I don't know exactly how those two got together, but I'd bet my life savings it didn't happen by simply asking, will you go out with me? Understand? Sakura and Moegi nodded. Sakura looked at the young couple and saw Naruto looked more relaxed, making her smile softly for him. Hey Hinata, Naruto, while we have time, could you tell us what exactly brought you two together? Ayame smirked. Smart move, girl. Give Naruto something positive to think about and he'll get out of his funk quicker. Naruto didn't look that talkative, but he did look at his pink-haired teammate. Well, in a way I guess it started when I visited Hinata-chan in the hospital during the month before the finals. I didn't train 24/7, so sometimes when I had free time, I went to see her, and get more inspiration for kicking Nejis. We chatted and got to know each other a little more, but we didn't start acting like this until after. Now he cut himself off. After what? Sakura curiously asked. Naruto sighed and broke eye contact with the pinkett. After I brought Bachan back to heal Sasuke. He sounded so hurt remembering that. Why? Sakura asked herself. Go on. Hinata spoke next. That day, I found Naruto-kun at that bridge your team always met at, just staring into the water, looking so forlorn. Flashback. Na Naruto-kun, Hinata said as she cautiously approached the young man. He turned to her and smiled. Hi Hinata-chan. Hinata could immediately tell his heart wasn't in his greeting. What's wrong? You brought the next Hokage here and thanks to her those injured from the invasion are getting better treatment. Konoha can get stronger and it's all thanks to you. Why are you so unhappy? Naruto sighed and looked away. Hinata-chan, you're the only person who's actually thanked me for doing this. What? He nodded. It's true. No one's even said so much as thank you to me for what I did. The old lady didn't even want to look at Konoha, and even though she told me I helped her change her mind when I saved her from Orochimaru, she never actually thanked me for doing it. Sure, she gave me this necklace, but she never actually said the words. Ero Sanin and Shizune didn't either. Heck, I thought at least Sakura would thank me for bringing the only person who could heal Sasuke to him, and she didn't even look at me. Hinata gasped but let Naruto continue. What will it take? What do I have to do before someone finally acknowledges it? I protect my team on missions, but I only get insulted. I make us pass the first test of the Chunin exams, and I'm called an idiot. I save her life from the sand user, and the only person she or anyone else give credit or thanks to is the Tem. And now, I brought the world's best medic to Konoha to heal everyone, and no one even says, "Good job, Naruto." Hinata put her arm around him. I thank you, Naruto-kun. I know it's not much, but I am grateful for what you do for us all. Naruto tensed, but he didn't ask her to let go, so she didn't. I'm sorry, Sakura isn't. Naruto sighed. I don't think I can take it anymore, Hinata-chan. I think this may have been the last straw for me. If me saving her life and Sasuke's too won't get her to at least give me a little respect, what will? I have no idea, and I think I'm tired of trying. Do you think I should? That was a tough question for Hinata to answer. Nah, Naruto-kun, I can't tell you what path to take in life. Only you can do that. I just want you to be happy. If you feel you need Sakura to be happy, then IW will support your choice. But if you're having doubts about that, then maybe, you should consider alternatives instead. Like maybe trying to have someone else be my girlfriend? Naruto asked, and Hinata nodded. Maybe you're right. Maybe I should. He then looked at the Hyuga heiress. Hinata-chan, would you like to go get ramen with me? She blushed, and placed her hand over his. Nah, Naruto-kun, as much as I want to say yes, I have to say no right now. Listen first. I do want to say yes, but right now you're hurt and grasping for straws. Take some time to think it over, please. Then if you really do want to try something with me, ask again when you know you're not just trying to replace Sakura. Naruto slowly nodded. I'm sorry if I offended you. Hinata wrapped her arms around his waist. You didn't. I understand why you asked. The problem is I want you to ask because you want me, not because you can't have your first choice. End flashback. After that we had to go to tea country, so I had plenty of time to think things over. Naruto said to Sakura. When Sasuke had to be treated again and you went off on your own, I found Hinata and told her I thought over things and decided that I did want to see what would happen if we tried to be couple. That time she accepted. Sakura was silent for a moment, but Ayame smiled. Looks like it was a good decision for you too. I can only hope so. Naruto said, but he now looked like he was feeling better. Naruto, did I really hurt you that much? Sakura asked. Naruto struggled to phrase it right. Sakura, I'm not going to lie. Yes, you did. I could handle the hits and the insults because they actually weren't the worst I've gotten, but every time you ignored me, that I couldn't handle. It got harder to handle it when we were on a team and you wouldn't even hold a conversation with me. But when I brought Bachin to save Sasuke and you hugged him so lovingly while never saying one grateful word to me before or since, I realized I just couldn't take it anymore. I spent 13 years being unloved, enough was enough. Sakura scooted forward until she was right in front of her blonde teammate. She reached over and wiped a tear from his eye. Naruto, I'm so sorry. I was an idiot, in more ways than one, and I'm not going to ask you to forgive me because I know you can't just yet. But there's something I need to tell you. What's that? The reason I'm here with you rather than with Sasuke now. And why I don't plan on ever being with him again. Well, here we are. Sea country, where no one should think to look for us first. Tsunade told her company as they looked at the ocean. Technically they were still within Land of Fire, but the island for sea country could be seen on the horizon. But that doesn't mean trackers or hunter nin can't find us here, so we shouldn't stay long. Shizune pointed out. Tsunade nodded. True. That's why we're going to rest and plan out our strategy here before creating a few false leads to distract any followers from our real goal. Which is? Sakura asked. I'll tell you tonight when we're somewhere private. Let's look for a hotel and get some much needed R&R. Don't get too comfy. We still have to treat her, you know. Kushina said, signaling to the still sedated Tayuya. After how she reacted last time, maybe it would be better to just let her die in her sleep. Tsunade said, remembering what happened when they tried healing Tayuya. Flashback. Kushina laid down the redhead she found on her way to Konoha. While we're giving my son some time to come to terms with everything, could we work on getting her stabilized? Considering she's connected to the enemy, I've got mixed feelings on that. Tsunade said. However, I suppose we can't simply ignore our Hippocratic oath. And she could provide useful intel. She knelt down. Shizune and I will at least allow her to talk. After that, her behavior and cooperation will prove how far our hospitality will extend. Kushina nodded. I understand completely. The two medics got on both sides of the unconscious Kunoichi and readied a diagnostic jutsu. There's a lot of damage done to her lower body. I'd say she's probably paralyzed and will never walk again without neural-focused medical jutsu. And it looks like there's been a good amount of internal bleeding. By all logic, this woman should be dead by now. How on earth have you kept her alive all this time? I placed her in a state of suspended animation. But if she stays in it too long, she will die for real. It only delays death, it doesn't fix anything. That part someone else has to do, and sadly I never learned how to heal. Kushina explained. You better wake her up then. That way what you did won't risk compromising what I'll do. Medic jutsus work best when a second jutsu isn't already in use. Tsunade said. Kushina nodded and put the tip of her index finger onto Yuya's forehead. Heirloom. The comatose Kunoichi lightly stirred, just as if she was waking up from a nap. But suddenly she winced and grimaced as if in great pain. She opened her eyes and roared out in pain, sounding like she was giving birth and passing a kidney stone at the same time. Then she started flailing around. Restrain her, Tsunade ordered, and Shizune and Kushina grabbed an arm each to hold her down. Yuya struggled against them both and flailed the rest of her too, though her legs didn't move as freely as the rest of her did. If anything, every time she kicked at nothing, the sound of bones breaking could be heard, making her scream even more. Jituushu, Kushina said, and next thing everyone knew Yuya was frozen solid. There, now ready whatever you're going to do and I'll unfreeze her. But you better do it fast, this method doesn't last long and isn't ceasing her pain. Tsunade nodded rather than ask questions. I'm going to start by soothing the nerve endings in her legs and numbing her muscles. Her lower body has the worst damage, so it's likely that's what's causing her agony. Tsunade-sama, look, Shizune said, catching her mentor's attention. Despite her frozen state, Yuya was activating her curse mark. Disuk, Kushina immediately said as she touched Yuya's forehead again. The flutist became unfrozen but slumped on the ground, as if forced to sleep. Her curse markings began to recede. She did that too when I found her and I didn't like the look of it. What's going on? Sakura asked as she and the others came back to the clearing they all stopped in. We tried treating this woman but apparently she's in quite a lot of pain. We may have to wait until we can find a hospital or at least somewhere indoors before we can do anything more for her. Tsunade answered. She sounded like she was dying. Naruto commented. She probably is. She's got a great deal of internal damage, so she probably feels like she's been stepped on like a bug. If we can't heal her, the best we can do is take care of her pain as she passes on. Shizune told him. End flashback. I know it might be less painful to let her die, but the information she has could help us out quite a bit. Shizune added. Would she even provide it? Naruto asked. Hard to say. The odds aren't in our favor, but we can be persuasive if we have to be. The slug Sanin told him. Now let's get a boat and head for the island. Best place to go right now. A quick trip to a marina with a payment and they were out on the sea. The words of the boat provider bothered them though. Be careful how far you venture. Plenty of people lately have been seeing something weird in the water. Naturally the ninja were undaunted, but they did keep the warning in mind. What do you think that guy meant? Naruto couldn't help but ask. Probably just a shark or something. Ayame casually answered. I wouldn't give it much thought. There have been tales of sea monsters as long as people have been aware of the ocean. A few moments of silence before Naruto spoke up again. I think I saw some kind of shadow move in the water. Hinata activated her Byakugan to settle his concern. I don't see anything down. Wait. All attention was on her now. There is something strange down there. Something human-sized. Okay everyone, be on your guard just in case. Hinata, Keep an eye on it. Tsunade ordered. Everyone got some kunais in their hands, even Moegi courtesy of Naruto, and waited while the boat continued forward. Hinata kept trying to see the apparition underwater, which moved around enough to be difficult for her to focus on. It's hard to see, but it appears to only be observing us. Maybe it's trying to decide if we're food or a threat. Let's not provoke it then. Kushina said. Nothing happened, but it wasn't until Hinata next spoke they relaxed. It's gone out of my range. I guess it lost interest. 5 more uneventful minutes passed until they reached the shore of sea country right by a seaside town. There was no dock, so they had to come to shore directly, and without an anchor or something to tie the boat to, Tsunade had to use her strength to pull the boat away from the water so the tide wouldn't take it away later, leaving them stranded. So what are we doing here again? Sakura asked. We're going to find someplace to treat our captive, get as many supplies as we can, decide our next destination, and get some answers. Tsunade told the Pinkett, giving Kushina a brief glance when she said the last part. I'll tell you everything, but I also want to know why you all had to leave Konoha and what your plan for being away is. The Uzumaki matriarch told the slug Sanin. I'll tell that too, but first let's find shelter. Excuse me. A stranger's voice called out. Everyone turned to a small alcove dune, and from behind it a girl's head stuck out. She had short purple hair that looked like she cut it herself, though 2 locks were long enough to frame her face. Her face also had medical wrap across her forehead and under her left eye, making her almost look like a Danzo wannabe if it weren't for the fact her eyes and smile radiated warmth. Yes, Kushina asked. If you need shelter, I know where you can find some. And who are you exactly? Tsunade asked. Nobody important, just a simple diver who lives in the area. My name's Isaribi. A diver? Naruto asked, unaware anyone could do such a thing for a living. Isaribi nodded. Yeah, I dive and gather things like lobsters, oysters, coral, and occasionally wreckage that still has value. Not always easy or profitable, but I love my work. Are you in need of treatment as well? Tsunade asked, eyeing the bandages. Isaribi shook her head. No thank you. I've already been treated. What happened? Sakura asked. I ran into some jellyfish on my last dive. I'm fine now, but my skin's still a little sensitive. I better take a look at it then. Jellyfish stings often have residual damage. Tsunade said. Isaribi looked nervous. No, really, I'm fine. Please, if you're offering us help, the least I can do is return the favor. The purple-haired bandaged girl then ran off. What was that about? Naruto asked. There's something suspicious about her. She was afraid of me inspecting her body. My guess is jellyfish weren't really the cause of her trouble. The slug Sanin thought out loud. But for now, let's focus more on our own group. An hour later the Konoha refugees had found a hotel in the town. Kushina, Tsunade, and Shizune were in the room tending to Tayuya while Naruto, Hinata, Sakura, Ayame, and Moegi were at the beach killing time. None of them had brought swimsuits, so none tried to go swimming. Tayuya had thrashed, screamed, and fought back during her treatment, and if not for a sound barrier in place it was likely the local authorities would have shown up. But finally, she stopped and passed out, her pain relieved. Tsunade wiped her forehead with her forearm. There. She's out of danger and can in time be fully recovered. I patched her up enough to talk but not walk or use her chakra effectively. For now, when we question her, she will only be able to answer or stay silent, nothing else. What was that you used on her, Kushina? Shizune asked, having never gotten around to asking that the other night. Mana spells. Think of it like jutsu but requiring incantations instead of hand signs, and it uses mana instead of chakra. What exactly is mana? Tsunade asked. The best way I can describe it to you is it's an energy like chakra but not identical. Like chakra, it's based on physical and spiritual power and can have elemental attributes. Unlike chakra, it's more focused on the spiritual part, so its strength is determined and tied to one's willpower over physical strength, so being fit like a ninja is not required to wield it. Also, it does not act the same way elementally. A person's mana can only be used one way elementally, or neutrally for non-elemental spells, so unlike chakra, which has a single affinity but doesn't limit a person to just that one element, mana does. So, you can use mana and chakra together? Tsunade asked. I used to be able to, long ago. Now I can't. Now I'm limited to just mana. All jutsu I used to know are useless. Why are you limited? Tsunade asked. I had access to a chakra source when I was younger. Messed up a lot about my growth and development as a succubus, but it allowed me to use chakra. Until it was removed and I was stuck using mana only again. For a brief time there was some residual chakra in me, but I used it all up in the Kyuubi resealing. Kushina answered. Wait a minute, resealing. What do you mean by that? Tsunade asked. Where do you think the Kyuubi was before it appeared in Konoha that day? Kushina asked back. Tsunade shrugged. I never thought about it. I did know it had been sealed in my grandmother one time, but I was never told where it went after that. I thought it was restrained in some sort of sacred object for a time. My grandfather's necklace couldn't have been the only special item he had after all. My granduncle had a special sword too. I figured there was some special object the Senju owned that contained the Kyuubi until the day it escaped. The Ikibi was rumored to be contained in an iron teakettle for a time, so it made sense to me. The redhead sighed. Tsunade, the Kyuubi was sealed in another person after Mito-sama but before Naruto. That person was me. Tsunade was wide-eyed. You. Shizune was equally surprised. Why? Because Mito-sama had faith in me being able to contain the fox and not be influenced by it. I asked her not to, because I wasn't so sure I could handle it, but she told me I had a loving heart and love was the best way to keep the Kyuubi contained. Something about that stuck with me and I ended up becoming the second Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Tsunade was momentarily silent. Why wasn't I told this? Did you ever ask? Tsunade thought it over. No, I guess I didn't. As long as there was no threat I didn't ask why. But why couldn't you have told me? I heard stories of Jinchurikis getting hostile treatment in their own villages. Some better than others, but usually friendless. Why would I go announcing that I was one? Kushina asked. Shizune nodded. Don't forget Tsunade-sama, you criticized the Sandaime for telling the public about Naruto being one, so how can you be upset for Kushina preferring her secret remain a secret? The slug Sanin sighed. You're right. But, if you're a succubus, how could you even contain the Kyuubi? I guess the sealing was done really well. Or maybe my mana countered its chakra. My mana was mistaken for a special anti-Biju chakra after all, so maybe they were partially right. I don't know, but all I wish is it was strong enough to prevent the fox from escaping while I gave birth. Kushina said with a sad sigh. At least while I did have the fox in me, I was able to use chakra successfully, but I haven't been able to since it escaped. The bad news is the fox's chakra screwed up my natural growth. I grew up like a human rather than a succubus normally does, and apparently I didn't need to orgasm to regulate my powers like normal succubi do. I didn't even realize this was unusual since I was raised by the Uzumaki clan more than the succubi race. How did you even come in contact with the Uzumakis if you came from a different world? Shizune asked. It was mostly chance. My dying caretaker was taking me away from a revolution and we went here to Midgard to escape. She didn't make it, killed in Yggdrasil, so I was left here alone with no idea how to get back to Alfheim. I was really young at the time, and the Uzumaki were fleeing the destruction of Uzushio at the time, and in the confusion I was mistaken for a member. With nowhere else to go, I didn't bother correcting them. I just waited until the fight ended and someone would come back for me. Kushina then sarcastically laughed. How ironic. As a kid all I wanted was to go home and fit in here until I did. It wasn't until I decided this was my home that I was brought back to Alfheim against my will and without my family. The fates have a sick sense of humor. Why did you have to leave this other world? Tsunade asked. Kushina looked down, avoiding eye contact by focusing more on the sleeping Tayuya. I'd rather tell that to my son first if you don't mind. It's part of the reason why I was taken away from him too. The sun sure feels nice. Sakura said, lying on her back, her arms folded above her head. Too bad this isn't a vacation. I hope we can go swimming while we're here. Moegi commented. Can we go get some swimsuits, boss? Does anyone here have money? Naruto asked, not sounding like his heart was in the subject. I do, but I'd rather save it for an emergency. Sakura answered. I only have what's left of my last mission pay on me. Hinata added. I've got plenty, and I suppose I could spare a little for some fun while we're out and about. Ayame said. I just don't know where to shop. Sakura got on her feet. Let's go ask someone. Naruto sighed. Why not? No one asked about his mood. They knew he was trying to act like he was back to normal, but he was still coming to terms with everything he learned. The identity of his father. The fact that the Sandaime had to yield on his safety a few times. His lack for a better term demonic mother and his own apparent demonic nature which had nothing to do with the Kyuubi. And that was only the stuff he had already learned. There was bound to be more he had yet to be told. At least now he had been able to apply a henge to hide his tail so he didn't feel like a sideshow freak on display. The group walked down the beach trying to find someone, Hinata having her arm wrapped around Naruto's and her head resting on his shoulder. Sakura sent them a friendly smile, but she couldn't help feeling slightly jealous. Go away, a girl's voice shouted, drawing their attention. Up ahead they saw a girl being chased by a trio close to her own age it seemed, and they were throwing rocks at her. Freak. Ugly. Hobo. Naruto got flashbacks to his own youth at hearing and seeing this, and his blood began to boil. Hinata could feel him tense and get angry and let go so he could react as he wanted. In no time Naruto ran forward. The bullied girl fell onto the sand and her harassers didn't stop stoning her. They even started kicking her. Before someone could try something new, Naruto and many clones had grabbed a hold of them all. What gives? Naruto glared. I should ask the same thing. Is there a reason you're doing this? Or are you just picking on someone who won't fight back? Out of the corner of his eyes he saw his friends run up to help him. Why do you care for this human garbage? One of the bullies asked. You've got 3 seconds to give me an answer instead of a question. Naruto demanded. 1. She's an eyesore to our town. We have a duty and a right to get rid of her. A different bully stated like he was fighting for a righteous cause. Funny. People say the same about me back home. But even I have friends. So what? The third bully asked. Hinata struck one from behind with her jukin, making him unable to stand. Sakura hit the second one on the head, making him skid across the sand and pass out. Ayame simply kicked the third bully between the legs from behind, making him fall to his knees screaming in a high octave. So what? Naruto said with a hint of a laugh. He then turned to face the victim. You're okay, no? Wait. You're that diver girl from before. Isaribi blinked. What do you want? Looks like she's waking up. Shizune said as she noticed Tayuya display signs of regaining consciousness. Her eyelids fluttered a few times without actually opening and her rate of breathing seemed to be controlled now rather than unconsciously steady. The redhead finally opened her eyes completely, though they were unfocused. When they did focus and she saw 3 strange women above her, her reflexes told her to create some distance. Too bad her body told her it couldn't even sit up under its own power, and her throat wasn't in any mood to work either. One of the women around her was also a redhead and she gently placed her right hand on Tayuya's throat. New day of. Instantly Tayuya felt her throat relax and return to a state of normal. She was thirsty as well but now she could speak. Wa. Tear. Tsunade held up a glass of water and gently held it to the Oto Kunoichi's lips. Normally Tayuya wouldn't be caught dead drinking like this, but her arms could barely be lifted and she was too thirsty to resist for more than 2 seconds. The coolness of the cold clear liquid going down her esophagus was like a divine blessing to her thirst. Feel better? Kushina asked. Somewhat. Now who the are you and where the hell am I? We're the ones who saved your life and you're in our custody. If you want to be able to walk again you'll cooperate, and if you'd rather be stubborn we'll find out how well you can swim in this state. Tsunade replied. Tayuya rolled her eyes. If that's your idea of a ultimatum, you're dumber than what people give blondes credit for. Tsunade frowned and cracked her knuckles. And if that's your idea of gratitude, then you must be suicidal. Why should I be grateful? You only saved me because you bitches want something from me, and if you get it, I'm just going to be useless crap to you and you'll get rid of me without a second thought. Tayuya calmly answered with closed eyes, as if trying to relax. Considering who you're connected to, would you honestly expect anything else? Tsunade asked. I'll give you that much, but can you say I'm wrong? I might, provided you convince me appropriately. Kushina answered, making the other women curious and confused. What do you mean? Shizune asked. Kushina just kept her gaze on Tayuya. Miss, so I don't call you something you don't like, could you tell me your name? The downed Kunoichi just stared, blinking a few times, when sneered. My name's none of your business. Kushina smiled. Hobu su Jamudi Emdruda. What? Tayuya asked, not understanding a word. At the same time she felt a weird tingle over her skin, sort of like a full-body feather caress. What did you say? You better not have done anything to me, you bitch. No need for vulgarity here. Now, do you like working for Orochimaru? No one really likes working for him. Maybe a couple do, but anyone that depraved would also be the type of person to backstab the bastard when it looked like they could succeed. Tayuya responded. Do you want to go back to him? Would you? That's not what I asked. Kushina said. Tayuya sighed. Not that I believe you give a damn, but it's not like I have anywhere else to go if I could walk. Oto's the kind of place only a sadist would enjoy being in, and while I occasionally had some fun, I saw things that would make your hair turn white. And I've seen things that would make your hair fall out. Kushina countered calmly. But your point is that you wish not to go back. Tayuya mock laughed. While I'm at it, why don't I wish my sister was still alive and it rained chocolate? No need to be so crass to us. I'm just trying to understand you better. Kushina told her. Why would you want to understand me? Tayuya asked. Because I don't believe in treating someone as an enemy by association. You're connected to Orochimaru, but you're not Orochimaru, so we should not treat you like you are. I wish to know if you're a sympathizer to him or a mere subject, so I know what we should do about you. Also, you remind me of someone I lost, so I can't just disregard you. Needless to say, Tayuya was quite surprised to hear this, but that didn't mean she believed it. So what does that mean? My whole life since I was taken, that snake people have always regarded me with absolutes and black and white views, so why the should I believe you? I'd have to be dumber than a sack of shit to believe you just because you say you're not like that. Kushina leaned closer, narrowed her eyes, and spoke like her words were tempered steel. Because we're your only chance for being able to walk, let alone live again, and I'm sure even a foul-mouthed such as yourself values her pathetic life. Now, unless you want me to give new meaning to the term titty, by ripping off your tits and shoving them up your and then start getting nasty, I suggest you learn to play nice. Holy hell, Tsunade and Shizune thought, slightly backing away in panic. Where did that come from? Tsunade asked. Kushina smiled sweetly at the blonde Hokage, but it didn't look friendly. When you want to get a message across, you've got to speak in terms they understand. Tayuya paled too, but then plastered on a fake confident grin. Do your worse. Oh, that was the wrong thing to say. Isaribi had put up a bit of a struggle when Naruto insisted on bringing her to Tsunade, but she was outnumbered and overpowered, so they were bringing her to the medic. The weird thing is, once they got there, they saw Tsunade and Shizune sitting outside the hotel room, both sipping sake. The windows and door were closed and covered, so it was impossible to see what was going on. Hey Bachan, why aren't you inside with the other woman? Naruto asked. Oh, your mother is handling her for now. She's a stubborn patient, so Kushina needs to wear her down a bit first before we can do anything. Tsunade answered, just before the sound of something breaking in the room could be heard. Tsunade-sama, maybe we should intervene and stop this. If you want to be my guest, Shizune. Tsunade told her. As she expected, Shizune did not move. Concerned, Hinata activated her Byakugan. I don't see any fighting, but I do see some broken glass over the floor. Kushina-san is showing off her wings and tail and the other woman looks scared. There's a woman with wings in there. Isaribi asked. And who's this? Tsunade asked. Wait, aren't you that diver girl with the jellyfish story? Yeah, it's her. We saw her being attacked and she's having a hard time moving. Can you treat her? Sakura asked. Tsunade put down her sake bottle. Sure. Gotta pass the time somehow. Isaribi gave her a pleading look. Please, don't. Just leave me alone. Your wounds aren't from jellyfish, are they? Tsunade asked. Tearfully and frightened, Isaribi could only nod. A person gave you whatever you're covering up, right? Isaribi just looked away. Yes, but it's not what you think. Many girls say that when they're in trouble, and no offense, but you have domestic violence victim written all over you. I wish it was that simple. The purple-haired girl whispered to herself, but those close to her still heard it. Ayame suddenly did a few hand signs. Forced sleep jutsu. She then touched Isaribi's forehead and the diver was knocked unconscious. She'll only be out for about 10 minutes max, likely less, so Tsunade-sama, if you want to see what's wrong with her, I'd do it fast. The medic nodded and had Isaribi set down on a mat so sand and dirt wouldn't get in the way, then peeled back the bandages on her left arm. Once they were loose and the skin exposed, she gasped and dropped the loose wrappings. Wah! What is this? Everyone curiously looked at the exposed arm, and gasped too at what they saw. Green scales in place of human skin. Could that be normal for her? Naruto asked. I saw a guy from Kiri with blue skin who looked like a human and shark combined. Maybe she's similar. If that were true, it's likely all her skin would be this way. No, instead I think this condition was forced onto her. Tsunade said, checking the other bandaged areas. Sure enough, there were more scales all over her in random places. And look at this. She pointed to the border because the normal skin and green scales, where there were light red blotches. That's scar tissue, classic sign of skin grafts. Someone's basically taking this girl's skin off and replacing it medically with new animalistic skin. Oh, that's disgusting, Moegi said. Tsunade nodded. And what's worse is the body can easily reject the new skin, making it eventually peel off and leave her more vulnerable to infection and copious bleeding. In order for me to treat her, I'm going to need a hospital and donor skin. Here and now, there's barely anything I can do. Why would anyone do such a thing like this? Sakura asked. I don't know. This sounds like one of Orochimaru's. Tsunade stopped for a moment. This is too much like something Orochimaru would do to be coincidental. Either he has a lab here, or there's some other sick twisted bastard here trying to turn people into something. Hinata, please see if there's any internal change to this girl. Hinata nodded and activated her Byakugan again. I don't see anything wrong with her muscles, though her bones look different. Like there's more cartilage in them than there should be. The interior of her lungs look unusual to me, like they're a bit underdeveloped, and there's something that looks like 2 bumps on the sides of her trachea in her neck. Also, the outer layer of her chakra network looks larger than normal but not as large as Naruto-kun's, and I think I see some kind of chemical in her bloodstream. Tsunade struggled to remain calm. Okay, I originally brought us here to give us some time to plan ahead the rest of our trip, but while we're here, we should find out what's going on with this poor girl. No one argued. The door to the room opened and a normal yet worn-out Kushina looked out. Well, I'm done. She's ready to cooperate. I swear when my legs works, the first thing I'm going to do is kick your until your legs don't work instead. Tayuya could be heard saying. That's ready to cooperate? Shizune asked. Surprisingly, yes, Kushina said, then noticed the unconscious girl. Who's that? An unfortunate victim of something unnatural. Tsunade answered. While we're here, we should look into it. This is inhumane and too much like Orochimaru's type of work. Well, lucky for us, we have someone connected to Orochimaru himself to confirm if he's involved. Oh right, let's see if Miss Foulmouth really is ready to talk. Tsunade said as she got up. Bring her in too. The others carefully brought Isaribi in and placed her on one of the beds. While not able to sit up or move much under her own power, Tayuya could see they brought in another girl. Another one. What's with your group and abducting helpless women? Boy here got a fetish. Naruto frowned at her. I don't know what that is, but I'm assuming it's gross. Depends on the nature of the fetish. Kushina commented to herself, then recomposed herself. Tell me, does Orochimaru have any operations in this country? Tayuya looked up. Remind me where we are again. Sea country. The Oto Kunoichi looked like she was trying to recall something. Rings a bell, but nothing specific. We've got a girl here suffering from unnatural skin grafts. Does that jog your memory? Tsunade asked. I've seen worse. But still no. Sakura frowned. You could at least sound like you're empathetic to her. Tayuya leaned up to glare at the Pinkett. Well, sore Rai for not crying over every tragedy I hear about, Pinky. I've been through quite a few myself, so don't expect me to cry a river over some skin injury. Angry, Tsunade showed the defiant woman the scales on Isaribi's arm. Does this look like some skin injury to you? Looks bad, but I still don't see the big deal. Have you no heart? Hinata asked. My heart took a big hit the day my family was killed on our pilgrimage to Konoha, and it finally died the day my sister was killed and Orochimaru took my burned body to Oto and branded me with his slave seal. Tayuya said as she leaned back on the floor, her crossed arms behind her head. Naruto looked confused. You were once part of Konoha. When? When I was a kid. My family was nearly wiped out when our original village was wiped out, and what remained immigrated to Konoha. My father, sister and I lived there for a few years, but they died in a fire and Orochimaru got me out of it and took me away. I've been stuck with him since. Kushina looked bothered, like she was recalling a bad memory. Your family immigrated into Konoha when you were a child. You hard of hearing. Tell me your name please. Kushina kindly asked. The downed redhead looked up at the active redhead with confusion. Tayuya. Kushina's eyes widened a bit. Tayuya. Yaya-chan. The Oto Kunoichi's eyes were now even wider than her interrogators. How do you know that stupid nickname? She then gasped. No way. It's impossible. Kushina-ne-chan. You two are related? Naruto asked, the others as surprised as he was. Kushina and Tayuya ignored them in favor of seeing any hint the other was not who they thought they were. Only my sister called me Yaya-chan, and only she would know that nickname. I swear if you're an imposter. Tayuya was stopped by a sudden hug from Kushina. I thought you died. I thought the fire killed you like it did Otu-san. Kushina sobbed. I thought you died. I saw you on fire. That wasn't me. I was taken out by the Sandame. I told him you and the others were still in there, but they only found charred and ashen bodies. You were declared dead when Orochimaru escaped. I cried for days. Me too. Tayuya surprised herself by hugging the other woman and even crying a tiny bit. That bastard used a seal to make me his slave. I had to become a monster or die, and I was afraid to die, so I went along with it. Ne-chan, please forgive me. If you can forgive me for not being able to find you. I'm just glad to have more of my family back. You're an Uzumaki? Tsunade asked. Tayuya pulled away a little bit. Surnames have no purpose in Oto, so we never use them except for legal purposes, but yeah, my surname is Uzumaki. Orochimaru was determined to find a way to claim our Kekkei Genkei for himself, so he tried to abduct all of us in Konoha before he defected. I was the only one he succeeded in taking. The others died fighting him off the day he was forced to leave Konoha. Well, this certainly makes things more interesting. So, you willing to cooperate with us more now? Tsunade asked. Get this seal off me and I'll strip for Blondie here. The flutist told her. Naruto blushed and Kushina shook her head. Imouto, Blondie there is my son. Son? Tayuya repeated, surprised. Well then I guess that makes me your aunt kid. In that case, please don't strip for me. Naruto told her, feeling bothered by the idea. You sure they're here? Ino asked. Shino nodded. My insect has traced Hinata's scent to this country and location. She is here, and inside this hotel. So what do you propose we do now? Tenten asked. I think I know what to do. Ino said, I have a clear shot at one of them from here. I can get in there and hear what they're up to. I could send in one of my insects to observe, but I agree that your direct approach is better. Provided you keep your cover. Shino stated. I'm a natural Shino. Watch and learn. Mind transfer jutsu. Back in the hotel room, Tsunade and Shizune were going over to Yuya and Isaribi again, with Sakura and Hinata trying to help and learn what to do. Isaribi had regained consciousness but no longer struggled to get away from them, especially after Naruto showed her his new tail, making her no longer feel alone. Yuya was surprised to hear about Kushina's true species. So all this time Nei-chan you've been a demon. And to think back when we were kids I was called the pretty one. So are you two really sisters? Sakura asked. Not by blood no. Her father took me in when the Uzumaki left Uzushio. We lived together until Orochimaru interfered. She's my sister and Naruto's aunt in name, not genetics. Kushina answered. I think I can try to get your seal off you, but since I don't have chakra anymore I may need someone else to actually do the job while I get it set up. But it will take some time to get it right since I'm a bit rusty on Fuinjutsu. Yuya shrugged. You could have a retarded pervert lick it off for all I care. Just get it off. Well, I can't say for certain what can be done about the seal. My diagnostic of you two leads me to believe that treating you both could take years of recovery. Tsunade said. She first faced Isaribi. Without proper knowledge of what was done to you, I don't dare try to undo it and risk making it just get worse. And even if I did understand, getting the reversal procedure done right will not be accomplished overnight. Isaribi looked heartbroken, and Tsunade averted her gaze to Yuya. Your case is similar to a boy I just treated back in Konoha, but the seal Orochimaru placed on you has left internal corrosive damage to your body and chakra network. So the rate of success is even less for you than it was for the boy with crushed bones and tendons. Trying to cure you would make the medic jutsu try to undo the corrosion and your seal is likely to interpret that as a threat to itself and counteract or overpower any help I can do. Until that mark is sealed up good or removed, I don't think you'll be able to walk again. So we're stuck like this for who knows how long. Yuya said. Is there really no other option for them Bachan? Naruto asked. Kushina cleared her throat. This may not be the best solution, but I do know of a way to heal them both that could work perfectly. All eyes were on her. What do you mean? Kushina refused to give anyone eye contact. It's sort of a kinjutsu that's being kept under wraps right now. It can return someone to perfect health. But it has a side effect. If done to them both, they will be the picture of health, but they'll be turned into succubi. What? You're joking, right? Moegi asked. Kushina shook her head. I wish I was. The thing I'm speaking of, it wasn't created with the best of intentions, and personally I'd rather see it destroyed. But if it can be put to good use, then I suppose it's only right that these two at least hear the offer. Everyone just stared at her wide-eyed, like they were all convinced they had misheard her. Yuya was the first to respond. Well, if you think it's worth mentioning Nei-chan, I'll at least hear ya out. Kushina settled herself, showing that the topic at hand wasn't exactly her favorite subject. Do any of you know of any jutsu designed to alter the physical shape of a ninja? You mean like a henge? Sakura asked. That's what I was thinking of. Kushina exclaimed, looking a little brighter now. I've been so busy I've forgotten a lot about jutsu over the years. It's kind of hard to remember them all when you little by little lose the ability to use them and have to focus learning on a substitute. Anyway, what I'm talking about is like a henge, only it causes a true transformation of the body on a cellular level. Even internal changes happen, a true transformation into a different species, but unlike a metamorphosis, it's not natural. That sounds amazing, Shizune said. Several in the room nodded in agreement. Is that really possible? Hinata asked. It is. But it's a very limited procedure, because it was designed to do one thing during a time when the creators were desperate for results. The Uzumaki matriarch answered. But long story short, this process can turn a human being into a succubus. Is that what happened to you, Mom? Naruto asked. Suddenly everyone else was wondering the same. Kushina shook her head. No, That's not what happened at all, son. I was this way since I was born, but I was a late bloomer as a succubus. A late bloomer succubus. Not to make fun of you or anything, but that sounds crazy. Tsunade said. Kushina nodded. I know. Normally succubi start and finish puberty when they're 11. I grew more like a human here, due to a certain influence. Mom, Naruto asked, catching her attention. You said you knew something that can turn a person into a demon. Do you know something that can do the opposite? Kushina said nothing, but her face showed she had something important to say. After a moment she sighed. Naruto, if you're asking me if I can stop your change to incubus, I can't. I'm sorry, but what's you're asking for doesn't exist to my knowledge. Naruto looked down, looking so beaten. It's just, I've been called a monster by everyone for as long as I can remember. Heck, for years I thought my name was Demon, because that's what people kept calling me. I just don't want this to happen because it means they're right. Kushina left to Yuya's side to sit right in front of her son. Naruto, it does not mean that at all. Yes it does. Naruto countered, still not looking at anyone. You just said I can never be human and you've told me I never was to begin with. So of course they were right. I'm everything everyone said I was. Hinata immediately embraced Naruto from behind but everyone could see she was lightly frowning. Naruto-kun, stop this. This is not you. The Naruto-kun I know doesn't let other people define his identity for him. If you did, wouldn't you have quit trying to be a ninja, let alone Hokage, a long time ago? This is different, Hinata-chan. Naruto told her. And exactly how is this different? She immediately asked. Because now what they said is true. He told her, still refusing to look at anyone. I'm not human, therefore I'm a monster. No Naruto-kun, stop right there. Hinata forcefully said as she moved to be right in front of him. She even grabbed his chin, and he still tried to avoid looking at anyone, so she grabbed both sides of his face. Naruto-kun, look at me. If I mean anything to you, look at me right now. She insisted, and luckily he complied. What you're saying makes zero sense. Is Akamaru a monster? Are the toads you summon monsters? Are they? No. The blonde made himself saying. Neither are you. They are not human beings, but they certainly are not monsters. And why is that? It's because they don't act like monsters. You're only a monster if you behave like one. And you Naruto-kun have never acted like a monster. Human or not, you are still my boyfriend. Promise me you will never call yourself a monster again. Promise me Naruto-kun. Hinata-chan, I don't think it's that easy. He softly said. The next one to speak to him was Ayame. Naruto, try not to have such a black and white view on this. Think about it this way, Orochimaru is a human, but he's not exactly humane as he. He's a real monster, and it's not because of claws or tails or even something like tentacles. It's because he enjoys making people suffer and causing destruction just for the hell of it. That's a monster, and like your girlfriend said, that's not you. And if that's not enough to convince you, I don't think anything we say can. The whiskered boy slowly looked at his girlfriend, his surrogate sister, his mother, then all the other girls in the room. They each waited curiously, waiting to hear his response. Hinata-chan, Ayame-ne-chan, it's not that I can't believe you, but I worry if I change like this, I won't be the same person anymore. Look at Sasuke, when he got that mark he stopped being who he used to be. I don't think the mark is the only reason he acted like that, Naruto. Sakura told him, and even so, I don't think the mark created his bad behavior, but instead encouraged it. Kushina leaned closer to her distraught son. Son, I think I know something that might put your mind at ease on this. She saw he looked curious and hopeful. How about you see where I've been these past few years? See others like us and how they live. That should show you that you have nothing to be afraid of. Seriously? Naruto asked. Kushina nodded. Yes. You deserve it. And I'm sure the people there would love to see you too. Why? Kushina looked like she briefly didn't know how to best answer. Maybe you'll understand better once we actually get there. Would you like to see it, son? Only if we all get to go too. He insisted. Kushina nodded. I wouldn't have it any other way. Not to be rude, but didn't you say you had a way to return me to normal? Isaribi asked. Oh right, sorry, Kushina said, straightening up and looking at the bandaged girl. I'm not a healer, so maybe there are other ways than the one I described, but the only one that does come to mind is one that turns a human into a succubus. You would be the picture of health, at the cost of becoming a different species. Isaribi closed her eyes and shook her head. Thanks, but I'd rather not forsake my humanity like that. After what's been done to me, I'd rather not lose more of it. I'll just wait until Amachi-sama can cure me. Tsunade looked doubtful. Unless this person has some sort of miracle cure, such a process to undo that kind of damage will take years to complete. What exactly caused this to happen to you anyway? Isaribi looked at the wall, like she was trying to pretend the situation didn't exist. That story about the jellyfish, that wasn't exactly a lie. It did happen, but not recently, more like a year ago. I lost consciousness for a while and woke up in a private lab, run by a marine biologist named Amachi. He offered me the chance to recover free of charge, as long as I agree to be a human guinea pig to experimental medicine for jellyfish venom. I was in a lot of pain and still dazed, so I agree. It worked, but you can see it had nasty side effects. Since then he's been trying to find a cure, as well as seeing what the extent of my change has been. The others looked shocked and sympathetic to her, to Yuya less so, while Tsunade looked judgmental. I'm sorry to tell you this, miss. What was your name again? Isaribi. Isaribi, I'm sorry to say this, but something like this cannot be cured by a mere serum. From what I've seen, you underwent skin grafts. That requires more skin grafts to reverse, not medicine alone. Skin grafts? The diver asked, looking at the slug Sanin. That can't be. I never had any skin grafts. Were you ever given anything that made you unconscious by this man? Tsunade asked. Isaribi nodded. Yes. Sometimes my medication made me drowsy, but lots of stuff you can find in an everyday medicine cabinet does that. True, but he could have easily sedated you in order to perform these skin grafts and make you think they were a mere side effect of what he was giving you, which likely is what caused the internal change to your body. Also, don't you think it's weird that a marine biologist would know how to treat people like a doctor? Something seemed to click in the bandaged girl's mind. I didn't think of that before, but now that you mention it. Then she shook her head. No, I can't believe that. Amachi-sama is my only chance for returning to normal. I have to believe he can. If I don't, what hope do I have left? Alright, we won't tell you what to do. But how about you let us see this man for ourselves? Just so we know he knows what he's doing. Shizune offered. Isaribi thought it over. I don't see why not. But can we do it tomorrow? Sure. Sounds acceptable. Hey, can we get some grub? I feel like I haven't eaten a thing in a week. Tayuya stated. Kushina smiled at her sister. That's not that far from the truth, Imouto. After a few more moments, Ino returned to her own body. What did you find out? Shino asked. Something very strange is going on in that group. Either they've gone crazy or they know more than I could find out. We should hang around and keep watch without exposing ourselves until we can learn more. They're not doing anything illegal or threatening to Konoha, are they? Tenten asked. Not that she believed her idol Tsunade would be involved in such shady deals, but her professional side needed to rule out the possibility. Not that I saw, but what I did hear made no sense at all. I need to learn more. Ino said. All that talk about monsters and transforming in Naruto, and that woman that calls him her son. What is going on here? It would be wise to continue our observations until we learn something concrete then. Shino told the two kunoichi. I will leave an insect in the room that will rotate with another periodically in order to gather more intel. Tenten-san, do you have a means to listen in? Yes, but I'll need a distraction to get it properly set up. I can plant a listening device in their room, but I'd need them all to leave first. For now, we're better off using your method, Shino. Dinner passed and night came, and everyone was asleep. With no immediate threats to worry about, the entire group went to sleep and didn't bother assigning night watchmen. Isaribi and Tayuya were given the bed since they were the injured of the group and everyone else got the floor. Tsunade and Shizune slept on the side of the room closest to the outside door in case someone did try to come in from there, while the rest slept on the other side where there was more room. Naruto seemed to be surrounded by girls right then. Hinata was curled up right next to him while Kushina was on his other side, just not as close to him as Hinata was. Moegi slept by Naruto's head for a sense of security and Sakura slept by his feet, also finding herself longing for a sense of closeness to him. After over an hour of sleep, Isaribi carefully opened an eye and looked over the room. Fortunately, her experience being underwater so much enabled her to see fine in low-light situations. When she was certain no one else was awake, she moved as quietly as she could out of the bed. Tiptoeing her way around the others, she carefully made it to the front door and grasped the handle, giving her caretakers one last look. "You're all nice people, even if the oddest bunch I've ever seen. But I can't risk angering Amachi-sama and being cut off from him. He's my only chance to be me again. I need to get back to him. At least this way you won't become new test subjects for him like I did." The diver felt a pang of guilt, for when she first saw the group reach sea country she had plans to bring them to Amachi. He said he needed other people to be brought to him for various experiments, all of which would help reach his goal. Not much of a technical person, Isaribi couldn't understand much of the jargon he used when asked and grew to stop asking. All he told her that she did understand was with others brought to him he'd be able to understand how to reverse the change before using anything directly on her. Last time he tried, she gained her Kaima form, and feared future experiments on her would make it impossible to be anything but a Kaima for the rest of her life. "You showed mercy to me, I'll repay the favor by not subjecting you to Amachi-sama's work to save myself. Just please, don't follow after me," she thought as she quietly turned the knob, opened the door, and walked out of the room. Fortunately for her, the hotel's night shift were not present in the hallway at this time, so she was able to walk undetected until she reached a door outside. As soon as she opened the door, she saw Kushina standing there. "I think you took a wrong turn to the bathroom," she said, sounding like she was joking but knew full well what the purple-haired girl was really doing. "What? But how?" Kushina held up her right hand, and from right out of the palm a golden chain emerged and quickly wrapped itself around the girl. The chain separated from Kushina but she held onto it like a leash. Then Tsunade and Ayame appeared beside her. "Think she's being controlled? How do we tell for a guarantee?" Kushina asked. "Allow me," Ayame said before she formed a tiger sign and poked the spot where the nose separates from the forehead. Eject. Nothing happened. Good. She's not under the control of somebody else. A friend of mine was a Yamanaka, so I learned how to force out an outside influence like that. Okay. With that settled, tell us why in Kami's name you were sneaking out tonight. Tsunade insisted. How did you know I even was? You were all asleep, Isaribi asked. Experienced ninja like us are all light sleepers. And we suspected something amiss before dinner, so we were on our guard but chose not to show it. Gotta admit we didn't think you'd try to do this. Ayame explained. Please let me go. I need this. It's my only chance. Isaribi pleaded. No, it isn't. We can help you. We can't guarantee it will be quick or painless, but we are a possibility. You're not limited to only one option. Tsunade told her. And what do you expect in return? Isaribi asked. For starters, we will want you to keep everything you know about us a secret. Beyond that, we can work something out. Kushina said. I know my son would enjoy more friends, but I can't insist you do that. That can only come naturally. Ayame gestured to Tsunade. Tsunade-sama, I think we have eavesdroppers nearby. I sense them as well. The Sanin whispered back. Kushina, take this girl back. We'll handle the others. The redhead nodded and took Isaribi back to their room while the other two disappeared. When Tsunade, Ayame, and Kushina left the hotel room through the back door, Shino, Ino, and Tenten immediately took cover, fearful they had somehow been found. At the same time they tried to follow the kunoichi trio in case they had something else on their minds. Why would someone in their own group try to sneak away? Tenten whispered. From what I gathered, she's connected to some guy here that did something to her and her life is basically in his hands. She was probably trying to get back to him, and they all were suspicious of that. Ino offered. Quiet. They're still out here, Shino warned. Where did they go? Ino asked, not seeing them or sensing them. Shino surprised them by walking out into the open. I take it you felt our presence. He said to no one. Tsunade and Ayame appeared before him. Yes. Kudos on finding us, but why did you do that? Tsunade asked. We were requested by Hiashi Hyuga to find the whereabouts of his missing daughter. Shino answered, then turned around. You might as well come out. Ino and Tenten emerged from the bush they had been hiding in. Why did you give us away like that? Ino asked, more than slightly irritated. It was illogical to continue hiding and make ourselves look like a threat when they showed they were aware of our presence. The Aburame answered. Wise choice. Ayame said. So now that you found us, what do you intend to do about it? Nothing in our objection says we're required to bring Hinata back with us. Hiashi-sama merely requested that we, and I quote, track her down and find out where she is. He never said a word about bringing her back to Konoha. As long as she is out of harm's way and here of her own free will, I see no reason to force her to stop what she's doing. Tenten and Ino were quite surprised. What? We came all this way, and you're not interested in bringing her back home? Did I ever say I was? He asked back. You never say anything. Ino all but shouted. Rest assured you three, Hinata is perfectly fine and here of her own free will. In fact she requested to be taken with us, and was requesting by another with us too. She is in fact safer here away from Konoha than in it. Tsunade told them before it got worse and other guests got upset at the noise. Can we see her for ourselves, Tsunade-sama? Just to verify your claim. Tenten asked. In the morning. But first, she then gave a hard look to Ino. How much did you overhear Yamanaka-san? What makes you think that? Ino asked. We know you used your clan jutsu to listen in on us in the room. When we ordered dinner, the youngest member of our group went into the restroom and came out unable to remember anything after a certain point. Tsunade explained, remembering how Moegi calmly went into the bathroom and came out confused as hell. Classic signs of a Yamanaka possession. Ayame added. We know when you left your host, so tell us when you started listening in and how much you heard. A lot of what you heard is on a need-to-know basis and frankly you do not need to know. Tsunade finished. Ino was nervous, but decided not to play dumb anymore since she had been caught. What the heck was going on in that room anyway? That woman calling herself Naruto's mother, talking about demons and changes in other countries. What's going on? Stop asking questions. Tsunade told her sternly, shutting her up effectively. You three better come with us for the time being. You are not prisoners, but neither will we let you out of our sights until we determine how much of a threat you are to our plans. Yes, Hokage-sama. The three genin said. Amachi was in his lab on his own private island looking at a computer screen telling him a mile's worth of data lines comprehensible only to him, when he heard the door to his lab open. Turning around, the balding scientist saw Isaribi walk in. About time you showed up. Where were you last night? I was observing potential new subjects for you, as well as recuperating from some injuries I acquired. The bandaged girl answered. Did you bring them to me? Amachi asked. I was not able to. These ones were too smart to catch off guard. Looks like you're slipping, Isaribi. The diver frowned. It's like fishing. Sometimes you reel them in, sometimes they get away from you. Doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. Especially since people are harder to catch than fish. Well, you better not lose your touch, girl. I need my test subjects to complete my work, and you know what that means for you. Isaribi looked conflicted. Excuse me, Amachi-sama, but when I was cleaning myself a while ago, I noticed something unusual. She saw she had his attention. The redding around my scales, I always thought that was just irritation, but last night I wondered if it was actually the markings of a skin graft. Is my transformation a mere unexpected side effect, or something you deliberately caused? What makes you think that? You know what I told you. Amachi replied. Yes, but when I think about it, it doesn't match the evidence. Isaribi said, but stopped when the long-nosed doctor stood up looking offended. You dare question me, girl? I'm the only reason you're even alive right now. Most people would have left you to suffer or bled your wallet dry after treating you. I only asked one thing and now you're having a crisis of conscience and daring to question what I do. Give me one good reason why I shouldn't cast you out right now and make you spend the rest of your life alone and bandaged up like a mummy. Isaribi lightly frowned. You wouldn't. I know too much. You'll kill me before you'll risk me telling anyone about you. Amachi smirked victoriously. How right you are. Like it or not, girl, your life is completely in my hands and so is your chance of regaining your humanity. So do as you're told and bring me some test subjects if you don't want to remain a fish face forever. He waited for the purple-haired girl to move, but she did not. I said go. You're making one big mistake, Doc. Oh, and what's that? Isaribi was immediately covered with smoke, and Ayame appeared in her place. You obviously weren't too prepared for the chance that the real Isaribi would already tell someone else about you. A henge? She found ninja here? Amachi asked himself, worried he was in trouble. Amachi was not much of a fighter, so he backed up and immediately hit an emergency silent alarm. In no time, his assigned guards from his benefactor would be here to take down this kunoichi. Ayame saw this action and smirked. Oh, don't think you're getting out of this that easily. I never said I came here alone. It doesn't matter. This place isn't defenseless and neither am I. Amachi declared. Then why are you so nervous? Ayame asked, her favorite dagger in hand to intimidate him. Amachi glared and made his hand hover above a large dark blue button. I'd rather not use this indoors, but you leave me little choice. Elsewhere in the lab, the others had split into two groups. Kushina, Naruto, Sakura, Ino, and Isaribi went to the left wing while Tsunade, Shizune, Hinata, Shino, and Tenten went to the right wing. Moegi and Tonton remained at the hotel watched over by Naruto's clones. The young girl didn't like it, but she had nothing to contribute so she had to sit this one out. Isaribi at least knew the layout of the building. In the left wing, the primary research area, Isaribi was leading them to where Amachi kept most of his equipment and notes. This was also the same place she was treated, but she was expected to provide her own lodgings, usually in a lean-to by the shore on the main part of sea country. And because of her appearance and antisocial behavior, it usually wasn't in the best condition thanks to bullies and vandals picking on an easy target. What if this is wrong? What if they're ruining my only chance to be normal again? Isaribi asked herself, feeling a pang of guilt and uncertainty. It's here, this is where Amachi-sama keeps most of his stuff. She told the others when they stopped in front of a closed door. Open the door to guarantee there are no traps. Kushina told her. You think I'd lead you to a setup? Isaribi asked. You did say you intended to trick us into coming here so we could be used by this guy. For all I know you still are. Now open the door and prove me wrong. Kushina demanded. The bandaged girl opened it and safely walked inside, showing there were no traps here. With caution, the rest went inside, and saw a laboratory filled with computers, water-filled tanks and tubes, surgical tables, and various equipment to experiment with. It was like something right out of a movie. ONLT thing missing was a tormented scream in the background. Was this where you were treated? Sakura asked. Isaribi nodded. What all was done to you? I was unconscious for most of it, but when I woke up my skin was scaly. Get away from the door, girl. Kushina ordered. What? I'm not stupid. You said this guy orders you to abduct people and bring them here for him to experiment on. For all basic purposes, you have done just that to us. I knew that going in. So until you proven otherwise, you are still a threat to us and I will not let my guard down around you. Kushina told her sternly. Isaribi nodded and walked away from the door. In that case, what do I have to do to earn your trust? Kushina opened her arms to indicate the machines behind her. Start destroying everything. The bandaged girl paled. But if all of Amachi-sama's work is destroyed, we can still cure you. He is not your only option. The redhead told her. Maybe, but according to you my only choices are him or you, and you did say your way would rid me of what humanity I have left. So forgive me if I'm not exactly eager to pick sides right way. Why don't we look through the notes and research first, like we planned, and see if this guy even can do anything about it? Sakura asked, trying to be the voice of reason. Kushina smiled. Good idea. Let's not pressure the young girl further and simply see what this doctor is really doing here. With that, everyone started looking through Amachi's data, hoping to find anything they could use or understand. In the right wing, the living quarters and docking area, Tsunade and the others were checking for any potential threats that needed to be intercepted. If this place had anything valuable in it, or was a secret site for human experimentation, then surely it was not unguarded, even if it was an ordinary lab. Scientists tended to be notoriously protective of their findings, dreading the chance a fellow researcher would steal their work and take the credit for it. My insects have just informed me that a silent alarm was triggered. Shino told them all. Crap, there goes our element of surprise. Okay team, be on extra alert. We're likely to be ambushed now. Tsunade said and everyone nodded. Byakugan. Hinata whispered, activating her dujutsu. There are two men trying to sneak up on us, one from the front and one behind us. Neither are armed, but they both look like they're prepared for a fight. They look alike, but one's more muscular and wearing dark glasses like Shino while the other's just wearing normal glasses. Good, so now they lost their own element of surprise and their vision is vulnerable. Tsunade whispered in response. Shizune, you and me will take the one behind us. Hinata, Tenten, you two take the one in front. Shino, use your insects to cover us both. The one in front is likely to be a distraction so the one behind can attack us. Everyone nodded and got into position. Hinata got into her Jukin stance and Tenten pulled out some of her unsealed kunai and trench knives, keeping her scrolls within immediate reach. Hinata's eyes told her the target was confidently yet quietly getting closer, looking unafraid but rather pleased to be able to fight. Shino had their backs, in case they needed his assistance first, but he was diverting his attention to the Sanin and her student who hoped to overpower the supposed sneak attack. Kushina-sama, I think I found something. Sakura said as she stared at a computer screen, attracting all ears to her. Yes. The aforementioned redhead responded. She clicked on the file and a video popped up into view. The video showed an unconscious Isaribi strapped to a table with an IV hooked up to her. Coming into view was a man dressed as a doctor. Who's that? Ino asked. Amachi-sama, the man who treated me. Isaribi answered. This is day 7 of my work on this fortunate find of mine. Amachi said, clearly if documenting his progress. Results are not coming as soon as I hoped, but I strongly suspect the fact that she has the chakra system of a civilian is to blame for this. Since Orochimaru-sama will not provide me with ninja subjects anymore, I must take what I can get. This guy works for Orochimaru? Naruto asked, horrified. Fortunately, after much trial and error from the past subjects, I have high hopes that the many tests done on this subject will have a accumulated effect after a few more. Making the change from human to sea monster may work best gradually rather than instantly. I suspect only 1, 2 at the most, further treatments will be needed to give the girl the ability to become my underwater weapon. All eyes were on Isaribi for a moment, looking at her with shock, making her feel uncomfortable and singled out. Amachi's voice after a cutaway redrew their attention to the screen. Day 9, and results are mixed. As expected, the gradual process was the correct procedure and I have succeeded in transforming the girl into an aquatic creature that will help me in dominating the local area and allow Orochimaru-sama to have alternative weapons too. For simplicity's sake I have dubbed this aquatic form as Kaima. The screen showed Isaribi being injected with something and her body quickly transforms into a humanoid fish being that could have come straight from a low-budget rip-off of the creature from the Black Lagoon. The change lasted only a dozen seconds and then she reverted back to normal. Do you really do that? Ino asked, but Amachi continued before Isaribi could answer. Unfortunately, there is a downside to the current result. While the Kaima body shows signs of a complete transformation, internal as well as external, it does not hold for long. Maybe the body rejects the unnatural metamorphosis like an improper donated organ, or the subject's limited chakra capacity cannot support it for long. I will have to find a way to make her chakra coils expand more, but I suspect there is a way to trick the body into thinking the change is normal. Maybe appropriate skin grafts will make the transformation last longer and be easier to accomplish in a real-life scenario. The screen went blank after that, saying it continued on a separate file, and now Isaribi looked shocked. It wasn't an accident. He wanted me to become this thing. In that case, I think it's safe to say you've got little luck putting your faith in this guy. Kushina told her. Can we save her? Sakura asked. If she doesn't want to try my way, Tsunade could possibly come up with a way to reverse what was done to her if we find a complete list of what was used. However, that's only in theory. I can't promise anything yet. Kushina answered. We should go get her then. Naruto said. Kushina nodded, but looked briefly alerted by a radio receiver on her ear. What is it? She listened to the transmission. Gotcha. We'll be there shortly. What's wrong? Naruto and Sakura asked. Ayame needs our help. We'll have to get back to this afterwards. As expected, the one Hinata and Tenten were prepared for appeared first, jumping out of the shadows like a jungle cat upon a helpless deer. However, these kunoichi were hardly helpless. He's unarmed, so be prepared for a jutsu or taijutsu move. Hinata whispered to the weapon thrower. The man in question, who was in truth Akado Yoroi, one of Orochimaru's weaker henchmen, rushed into view, his right arm stretched out as if to grab them. Hinata's Byakugan told her that he had some of his chakra gathered in his palm, meaning it would be bad if he touched either of them. So she stepped aside, but Tenten's reflexes made her throw a kunai and pierce his outstretched palm. Akado screamed and stopped, clutching his wounded hand. This gave Hinata the opportunity to sneak in and hit his tenketsu as fast as she could. It only took half a minute, but it was 30 seconds this guy couldn't defend himself during, and he collapsed when it was over. Hinata then deactivated her dujutsu. Just to be safe, Tenten said before taking her used kunai back, allowing his hand to bleed, and stabbing his feet with it too in the unprotected parts. There, now he'll have a hard time catching up after we leave. After the first guy screamed, the second guy, Masumi Tsurugi, decided to jump in, but Tsunade was ready for him and fired a punch right at his face. His nose could be heard breaking and he went flying back, leaving a crater on the wall he collided with. Is it just me or were they rather feeble? Shizune asked. I suspect they would have been worse had I not sent my insects after them before they attacked. Shino said. Even so, they either weren't trained to be fighters, or don't take their training seriously. Otherwise this shouldn't be so easy. Shizune added. Tsunade shrugged. An easy win is still a win. What should we? Hinata asked, but was cut off when she felt a hand grab her leg. Let go. She shrieked as she looked down, seeing Akado was the one holding her. She struggled to kick free, but she couldn't move well since this henchman was draining her chakra through his hand. Wait, this is exactly like that guy in the Chunin exams. Could he be the same person? Reacting quickly, Tenten pulled out another kunai and drove it into the man's neck, making him lose his grip and allowing Hinata to get out of his range. He made a last-ditch effort to grab onto Tenten and succeeded in grabbing her arm, but a kick to drive the kunai deeper into his neck made him stop doing anything further. You two okay? Tsunade asked. I feel a little more tired than I was before, but not so much I'm going to stop. Tenten answered. Same here. Hinata added. Good. Let's check this other guy out too for any hidden surprises. Tsunade cautiously approached Masumi. Judging by the way his limbs are angled, he took one hell of a hit. He shouldn't be able to stand up or lift an arm. He's no threat, she told the others. Oh, I'm not, am I? The downed guy said, surprising them all. With his arms still dislocated, Masumi reached into his supply pouch and pulled out a small handheld trigger. Take this. Panels in the walls opened up, and before anyone could move, thick panes of glass zipped out, trapping the group in a caged-off section. Within the area, extra smaller panels opened near the top of the hallway walls, and seawater started to pour in like a faucet, a vent on the ceiling allowing air to escape. Judging from the speed of the water, they had less than a minute until all the air was gone. Too easy, Tsunade said, rearing her fist. She struck the glass, but instead of shattering, it simply wobbled in place and her hand hurt like hell. Masumi smiled. Nice try, but that's not glass. That's diamond, provided by Orochimaru-sama's top Kunoichi Guren. Cheaper than replacing all the glass Amachi-sama would break here. Amachi's work required him to experiment on all forms of dangerous sea life, often making them more aggressive and dangerous than they already were, often resulting in destroyed aquariums. So to make it easier, Orochimaru had Guren create clear crystal containers and walls that would contain even jaws on steroids. Even Tsunade's punch wasn't going to break this wall that easily. Masumi smirked and used his chakra to get his dislocated joints back into place and reshape his nose. He couldn't see how Akado was doing, but he had no love for the guy, even his teammates. He was just pleased to see people start to drown. Tsunade-sama, Shizune nervously asked. I'll try again, the slug Sanin said, getting ready to use her uninjured fist with more force behind it. Ayame was breathing heavily. This guy sure came prepared. The room they were in hadn't really been rigged with traps, but it did feature a trapdoor that would have dropped her into a shark tank. Ayame dodged that one by jumping to the ceiling and clinging to it. Even so, that shark actually wasn't the worst thing he had used. What the hell was that thing? It looked like some sort of living water blob. Unfortunately, Amachi used that time to escape via a back door, and the so-called living water blob followed him after she used a paper bomb to hurt it. She dropped down to the floor, trapdoor closed, after sending a distress signal out to the others over a radio. I'm tempted to go after him, but I really should wait for the others to get here first. She didn't have to wait long. What's the situation? Kushina asked as she appeared, looking ready to fight. The doctor's not a fighter, but he's not completely unprepared either. Right now he's probably trying to set up another defense for this place. And he's got the most unusual summons I've ever seen. I don't even know what to call it. We can't let him get away. According to what we found, he's working for Orochimaru. Naruto told the ramen chef. Orochimaru. That worm, Ayame confirmed. Naruto nodded. I think he's helping the snake bastard find ways to change people into monsters, and Isaribi here is an innocent victim caught in the crossfire. We better go get him. Kushina said. Naruto, Ayame, you two come with me. Sakura, Ino, be our backup and keep Isaribi from being taken away or something. Everyone nodded, but when Naruto, Ayame, and Kushina left the room to get outside, Sakura looked a bit forlorn. Once again, the only thing I'm good for is support. After this, I'm going to ask Kushina-sama and Tsunade-sama if they can help me get stronger. Even Ayame-senpai could help me out. I want to fight with Naruto, not behind him. Something wrong, forehead? Ino asked, sensing her friend's unease. No, nothing at all, Ino. Sakura shook her head. You like that boy, don't you? Isaribi asked, believing Sakura's discomfort was worry for Naruto getting in danger. What? Ino said, surprised. Sakura sighed. It's complicated. Yes, I'm afraid for him, but I know he'll handle this. After all, Naruto's going to be Hokage someday. He can't die, not today. Ino was wide-eyed hearing this. Sakura, did something happen between you and? Not now, Ino. Maybe after this is all over, but now. The pinkett told the platinum blonde, effectively ending the conversation. Who is this boy? Isaribi curiously asked. Sakura turned to her. He's Naruto Uzumaki, the most unpredictable ninja in the world. And quite possibly one of the strongest and nicest you'll ever meet. He's strong enough to win where it really counts, and kind enough to not make everyone his enemy, even if they make him theirs. If there's one person you can count on to help you, it's him. Isaribi was awed while Ino was confused. Yep. Something definitely happened. Now I've got to know. If anyone can get us out of here, don't keep us waiting. Tsunade told everyone in the almost full water trap. Hinata had her Byakugan on. I don't see a weak point to strike at. Before more could be said, the panels suddenly reverted back into the walls and the water spilled out. Misumi stood there wide-eyed and slack-jawed. What? But how? Shino addressed his group as they stepped away from the once confined area. I sent some insects into the walls where the panels came out. I suspected they could short-circuit the mechanisms involved. I'm glad to see I was right and they could do it so fast. Thanks, Shino. Be on alert for more traps. Misumi was now a bit worried, but he was one of those, never say die, kind of fighters. To him, if he was going down, he was going to make sure to take a few with him. And if his partner Yoroi recovered quickly, maybe they could accomplish more. Before Yoroi could even stand up, Tsunade rushed forward at Misumi, chakra-enhanced punch at max power. And with Misumi's fighting style based on him being close to his enemy to attack them, he wasn't a good dodger and took the hit dead on. His ribs shattered and cut into his organs. Death would come slow for him as blood filled his lungs and drained from his heart. At the same time, Shizune got out some of her poisoned weapons and attacked Yoroi while he was still incapacitated. The wounds he got weren't great, but the toxins would compensate for that. Let's get out before something else happens. No one argued. Unfortunately though, a steel door came down from the direction they came from, blocking their retreat. Tsunade looked it over. Reinforced steel with reinforced locks. Whoever designed this place obviously wasn't a tightwad. We're going to have to find a different way. She would risk battering it down herself, but her fist still hurt from shattering the diamond-reinforced glass earlier. Where is he? Naruto asked when he was outside. Kushina and Ayame were helping him look over the area as Sakura, Ino, and Isaribi came out to join them. Not sure. He could be anywhere, but he's bound to be close and where he can see us. Ayame replied. I'll get a better viewpoint. Kushina said before reaching for her back. Naruto and Ayame now could see that hidden by her hair had been 2 cuts in the back of her blouse that had been buttoned up. She unbuttoned them and quickly a set of demonic wings emerged from her backside. At the same time a long demonic tail emerged from above her. Not bothering to say a word, she flapped her wings and took off into the air, circling around the base to find their target. All she saw was the island instead and the sea around it, nothing out of the ordinary and no people either. Damn, he's hiding. Luckily there are only so many places he can hide without actually leaving the island. All of a sudden there was a burst of water aimed at her from the sea. But this didn't look like an ordinary water jutsu, no, it felt like something else entirely. What the hell was that? Ino said, pointing towards where the water came from. A second attack came, and this time everyone got a good look at it. If it was a water jutsu, it was different than any other they'd seen. Most water jutsu attacks look like a small geyser, this looked more like a tendril made of water kept in a uniform texture and color. Not only that, it looked like it was moving as if alive, not jutsu controlled. Kushina saw it was trying to grab her, like some sort of octopus made out of water. He's got to be close by, maybe even under the water. I should try. She was cut off by a second tendril she didn't see behind her come up and wrap around her. Okay, Naruto screamed at seeing his mother engulfed in water, much like when Zabuza first fought Kakashi. What's going on here? Sakura asked Isaribi, hoping the girl knew. I don't know. I've never seen anything like this before. The problem got worse. From the water arose a gigantic being made completely of seawater. It looked like some sort of monstrous amoeba that was capable of standing up. Inside it there was something small and green, but from where they were they couldn't see what it was. But they could see that Kushina couldn't break free of its hold. Damn, I can't use any incantations underwater, or I'll drown. She told herself, resorting to struggling against the water to reach some air. I've got to help her. Naruto stated. How? Sakura and Ino asked. He rolled up his sleeves. I'll bring us a little help. He then jumped onto the water and flashed through 4 hand signs. Summoning jutsu. At his feet appeared Gamakichi. Hey Naruto. What's up? He friendly greeted. Naruto suppressed a groan. Sorry Kichi, I need your father instead. The orange toad then took notice of what he was standing on. Wait a minute, is this salt water? We're at sea. What's the problem? You toads can swim, right? The whiskered boy asked as his primary toad partner jumped onto his shoulders. Yeah, but we're freshwater animals. This stuff drives our skin crazy. My feet are already getting itchy. Pops would be pretty ticked if you tried to get him to do something here. Kichi, look over there and tell me how I'm supposed to get rid of that thing without him. Naruto said, pointing to the water blob. As Gamakichi took in the sight of the Yumibozu, Ayame, Sakura, Ino, and Isaribi jumped down beside Naruto. Ayame, Sakura, and Ino could stand on the water but Isaribi could not, thus she just bobbed in the water. Naruto, where'd that frog come from and why is it wearing a vest? Sakura asked, a bit disturbed at the sight of the amphibian. She had never been a fan of amphibians, reptiles, or basically any animal except for birds or mammals. Gamakichi looked right at the pinket. I'm a toad, not a frog. Sakura paled for a moment. It can talk. Ino looked almost as surprised. Ayame wasn't surprised, no stranger to summons even though she had none of her own. Everyone, can we please focus on this and not him? Naruto asked firmly. Kichi, I'm sorry if your old man doesn't like it, but he's the best idea I have. Naruto-san, let me try something first. Isaribi asked. When everyone turned her way, she saw her remove her bandages, revealing her scales. I'm sorry I got you all involved in this. Let me try to get you out of it. She then closed her eyes and in a matter of seconds her entire body transformed into a human-fish hybrid. Suddenly Gamakichi didn't look so weird to the girls. Isaribi dived underwater, grateful to her gills and new body for once. She swam effortlessly and made it right under the Yumibozu. With a small amount of hesitation, she swam up and found it quite easy to get inside the water creature. Well, it is made of water after all. She told herself. I think we need reinforcements for something like this. Naruto, try to keep it busy with some clones. I'll go try to get the others and bring them here if they're not busy with something else. Ayame told her pseudo brother who nodded. When the ramen chef Kunoichi disappeared back into the lab, Naruto created a lot of clones to distracting the Yumibozu by attacking it from the outside so it couldn't do anything to her, thus allowing her to swim through its body and try to reach Kushina to free her. Easy, right? Wrong. Something else was inside the water creature too, and it lunged right at her. Isaribi, well used to being aware of her surroundings underwater and reacting appropriately, dodged her ambusher with ease. When she turned to see exactly what it was, she gasped, something that feels quite strange to do underwater. What she saw was a second Kaima, this one clearly male and looking a bit more dangerous than she did. The fins on its head and pure yellow eyes certainly gave it a bit of an intimidation factor. What the? Where? When did Amachi make another Kaima? He couldn't have. Unless. Hello Isaribi, your services will no longer be required. The Kaima said, and even with the voice muddled by water, she heard it clearly and could tell exactly who owned that voice. Amachi, you do this to yourself. Of course. I knew you wouldn't be reliable for much longer, but you gave me enough to create the perfect ocean soldier, me. Now I will rule the seas. So this entire time he never intended to help me return to normal, only help him become this creature. He's been using me as a lab rat and errand girl for this twisted ambition. Robbing me of my humanity with empty promises to return it if I do his dirty work. Isaribi told herself, getting angry.